Hi there, my name is David Herbert, and welcome to the Gemini Storm Vlog. This is basically a little series about, in order to tell fans and other people a little bit about this comic, mostly how was it created, how the characters were created, what the process is like, and also to answer any questions that some people may have about this comic that we've been doing. If you have bought a comic, thank you very much. So, I apologize, I have the cough, and I also apologize if I get a little awkward because this is one of my first attempts. I am not exactly that experienced when it comes to making movies. So, the first thing I wanted to talk about is where the idea came from, I guess. The actual origins of the comic, and it wasn't always how it is today, and which is usually the case with stories. They go through a process where your mind is constantly editing them. You want to do something one way, and then it ends up working out a different way. But the comic originally started back in 2006. I was 16, and it was the first webcomic I had ever hand-drawn. And it was, I think I drew about 40 pages of it. It was a much more fantasy-based comic where Elizabeth was 16, Midnight was 16, yes I do realize it was a doggy name, and Elizabeth was at an all-girls school when Midnight one day just showed up on the doorstep and unconscious. The original plan was to spend about 50 pages at the boarding school, and it got a little fan servicey at some points, but then my parents decided that they should start going through my artwork for some reason, which to this day still bothers me, but what the hell, I was a teenager, they were my parents. So I decided against drawing lesbians where my parents could see them, and I just jumped straight to the full story, which is probably a good idea because 50 pages of lead up into nothing that ended up being nothing probably would have gotten rid of any fans that I had. So I jumped straight into monsters attacking the boarding school, and Midnight pulls Elizabeth away. She originally wasn't one of the main fighters. She was actually supposed to be a love interest for Midnight and his brother. That's who the other side of the Gemini was, a man. So it was a little chauvinistic, I admit, but again, I was 16, I had very bad storytelling abilities, which I have grown, thankfully. So the comic updated every Sunday for about a couple of months. Then I got sick of it. Then I started updating it again. Then I stopped, and it was about early 2007 that I finally put an end to it, and I decided, no, I'm never touching this thing again. And then later, I think it was early 2008, I came up with a different story that I was going to find an artist to draw, and it was not supposed to be Gemini Storm. But it does have some similarities. The original idea was it's the future and the world is full of skyscrapers. The rich people live and others live at the very top, whereas the poor live closer to the bottom. It's basically how you determine a person's wealth, on what floor they live. So there was supposed to be at the very bottom, like the ground floor, which nobody ever wanted to go near, were supposed to be these monsters that were terrorizing anyone who decided to step outside of the skyscrapers. so nobody went near them except for a maid who enjoyed killing, and then I eventually named her Elizabeth Rose. And slowly but surely this became the new Gemini Storm. And it was supposed to be much more gun-based. It was kind of something like Rob Liefeld would enjoy drawing. But eventually I reworked it after I read the Batman No Man's Land arc, which is one of my favourite crossovers. And I liked the idea of an apocalyptic city, which was barely inhabited, so I integrated that into the story. And it pretty much became Gemini Storm as we know it today. And I was originally going to draw it myself, but then I realized, no, I can't draw, which is basically how a conversation I have with myself every time I decide to come up with a story. I can't draw it, I need to get someone else. So in, I think it was November 2008, I went over to a place called Digital Webbing, and they have forums there where you can find artists. And that's where I found Harrison, and I showed him Gemini Storm as I had it planned out. I actually have a very different ending to the one I told him I was going to do, but I showed it to him, I told him what the idea was, and thankfully he said yes, and I got a great artist on the book, which has actually done very well at cons. I was kind of surprised that I managed to sell out of, I think, 20 copies the first time I ever showed it at a con, and I didn't even have a table. I was just selling it to other vendors who were also selling their comics, and I gave one or two away, but they were mostly sold. So Harrison and I have been doing the comic ever since then, and we currently have issue 4 is almost done being penciled. I've written issue 5, I need to start on issue 6, and issue 6 soon. Just need to get issue 4 inked and coloured, and I'd like to have it out, issue 5 out by the end of the year, but we'll see what happens. I hope you found this video exciting, well, not exciting, but at least a little bit interesting, and I will see you next week. And if you have any questions that you want me to answer in one of these videos, hopefully when I'm better at this, then feel free to just go into the comment section, post your comment, post your question, and if it doesn't spoil the future of the comic, if it doesn't spoil the future stories, then I will be happy to answer it. I've been David. Until next time, take care.